there's not many guys that I come across on LinkedIn that are around my age or even younger that are absolutely crushing it just in life and the way that they think and the way that they act and what they're doing. And I've been following this guy for a while and really wanted him on here. This guy is the man, and I'm excited to welcome to the show Mando Sallavanti. How are you, man?
What's going on, brother? Appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to chat today.
For those of you watching or seeing this, I'm kind of tempted to have that haircut. Like it's just, he's got the suit on, a cool haircut. I'm like, dude, you look like the man. Look good, play good, right?
Right, man. Deion Sanders said it. Look good, feel good, play good, they pay good. So that's how
Oh
you do it,
man, I
man.
love it. Well, we have a bunch to talk about today, and one thing I'm trying to do is we want to hear some of Mondo's story, and we're definitely going to back into that. But I kind of want to start with what do you do today? Like, what are you doing for work?
Yeah, man. So I'm a financial planner, and I could go off on a tangent with jargon of what that means and investments I help with and stuff like that. But like really the simplest way I put this is a lot of times people don't have the knowledge to structure their finances in a way that it's working towards whatever their goals are and what's important to them. And when a client hires me and they bring me in, I tell them, I'm just restructuring your finances to align with what's important to you, what your goals are, and what's going to get you there in the fastest way possible. And it's that simple.
Yeah, I love just making it simple. And a question that even came from that is, do you find that sometimes people haven't even really thought about their goals?
Um, Really good question. What I would say is I think we all think about what our goals are and what we want, but they haven't thought about what are the actions they're taking today going to actually yield for them. So let me give you an example. There's a question I ask myself every single morning when I wake up, and I do it when I wake up because my alarm is labeled as this. It says, what life did I sign up for?
Mm.
And all that means is we're making choices every day. We're taking actions every day. Those actions and those choices are signing us up for some type of life, whether that's our dream life, whether that's a life we don't even know what it is, but it's bringing us to something that we're choosing either directly or indirectly. So coming back to financial goals and really personal goals, because financial goals are personal goals. I think people don't realize the actions they're taking are signing them up for something. And if they don't take the time to do the due diligence and say, what is this really going to do for me? They don't understand what they're signing up for. So that's all I'm doing is showing them, hey, here's where you're headed. Let's talk about if this is where you actually want to be headed.
Mm. That's a great way to put it. I got to change my alarm clock to what life
Yeah,
did I
man.
sign up for? Dude, I'm fired up right now. I'm gonna like wake up tomorrow morning and yell, "What life did I sign for?" My wife's gonna be like, "Shut up." But dude, I think this is interesting because I've fallen into this. Oftentimes in life, I think that we hope that our intentions, our good intentions, kind of get us to where we want to go. Another way to put that I say a lot here is like, you'll never drift to your desired destination. Like we want to believe that just by like being nice or like making money and like not spending it in a stupid way is going to all work out. And in some cases it might, but I think as people, we avoid the brutal facts and the numbers a lot of times because we don't want to look at the hard thing. It sounds like you're helping people just lay everything out and really look at the facts of what's going on.
Yeah. And it's pretty much as simple as like, here's where you're at today. Here's where you're headed. Is this where you want to go? And usually it's not the case. If someone does want to work with me, usually that's not the case. So I just come in and say, this is where what you could do to get to where you actually want to go. And just seeing it laid out in front of you, I think says a lot because a lot of times, especially with finances, people don't have the means to do it. They don't have that expertise and it's not worth them to use their time to get that expertise because it's better off being focused on their career, whatever that is, you know?
Well, that brings up another good point because I think so often it's like, oh, I'm going to cut my own grass. I'm not going to pay for that. Or I'm going to deal with my own finances. And even if you learn that, it takes a lot of time. Guys, Mando is a man of his word because you posted something. It seems like you're outsourcing a lot of your work to people all over the world, right?
Yeah, man. I have a graphic designer in India, which best decision I made. Like paying him is just taken, I think, my appearance to another level. I have a marketing partner. He's from Canada. Shout out to Tack. Tack helps me out. Like, he helps me out with a lot of funny things like memes and using them for marketing. But Tack really does know marketing at a high level as well, and helping with branding and decisions that I'm making there online. And I have a couple coaches that I work with. My life coach, Alia, she's amazing, helps me through really big decisions and getting down to the deep rooted things that I struggle with. And lastly, I also work with a public speaking slash like branding coach, Nasheen. And Nasheen is awesome. She's done 2 TED Talks. She's amazing at what she does. Just very little things that you would never think of is what like she shows me. And I'm just like, the effect that it has is crazy. So
Wow, that's awesome. Well, that brings up another thing I've noticed about you. I've heard you talk about you're hiring these people out. You've talked to Justin Welsh, which for those of you listening, that's like the biggest guy on LinkedIn. Paid a lot of money for his course to have a conversation with him and all this. I feel like most people just in general aren't willing to outsource or like pay things to learn. But also the fact that you're 24 and doing that. Like, did you just decide that that's what you were going to do? Did someone model that for you? It's just interesting. I don't see this a lot.
So a couple things. I'll tell you a story first, and then I'm going to end it with an overarching point. When I first got in business, I was horrible my first 3 months. I thought I knew it all. I come from a football background. I had a big ego. I'm the best. I don't need anybody. And I tried to do it myself. 3 months later, I made $360. So Mando found out ego is not good. Then I goes to some mentors, ask for help, do better in business. 2 months later, I think I made like literally 50,000 the next 2 months in business, months 4 and 5. So now I'm sitting there
Jeez.
like I go from like broke to like I got 50K in my checking account. What do I do with this money? And I'm like, I don't know. People say investing in yourself is good. So funny enough, I had gotten solicited by a coach for financial advisors on how they could grow their business. And he does like sort of like a boot camp, a 6-week boot camp, and you get 3 calls one-on-one with him. And his name's Simon. He's great. Charged me $4,500. I had a lot of money at the time. I'm like, all right, I'm 5 months in business. I'll give it a flyer. I don't know. Maybe I won't even make it in this business anyways. So I might as well put my all into it and give this a shot. Best decision I made for my business. Learned so much about how to be an advisor, how to add value to clients, what questions to ask them, what strategies to use. And that was my first taste of investing in myself. And Simon said one thing to me to sell me that put me over the edge, and this lesson sticks with me to this day. And he didn't say it like this. I don't remember the exact way he said it, but the lesson pretty much goes like this. We always pay for things in one of 2 ways or both, time or money. I'm the type of guy that if I have the money, I'm going to pay him money every time, because with money, you know exactly how much you're paying. But with time, you have no clue what you're paying. You might be paying an hour, a day, 100 days, 1,000 days, 10,000 days, whatever. You have no clue with time. So you could cut your own grass. You could do your own financial plan. You could train yourself at the gym and look stuff up online, or you could pay someone to help you with these things. And in my case, between paying Simon, paying Justin Welsh, Nasheen, Alia, my graphic designer, Tack, my marketing partner, paying all these people, I'd rather pay in money than pay in time to learn these things myself.
Ooh, my head just exploded. That is a bomb quote from your boy Simon right there. And I just think so often like we are like, oh, I'm not gonna pay for that. Like I'm gonna do it myself. And in some cases, it's good to learn new skills, or even if it doesn't make sense, like and it costs a lot of time. Maybe it's you're experiencing something with like your child one day or your significant other. Like I think sometimes when you kind of think with such an economic mindset, it might be easy to like always be thinking time and money. But for the big stuff, like what you're doing is you're buying more time for you to do what you're really good at and what you love. That's what it seems like.
100%. 100%. Like
Yeah,
flat out, nothing to add there.
I love it. Well, one thing that I think that's interesting about you is like or actually, I want you to tell us what is like your kind of tagline on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I help Gen Z manage money efficiently is my tagline on LinkedIn. And the reason that I focus on Gen Z and not only Gen Z, because I'd probably say most of my clients are like 35 and younger. That's like 90% of them. I do have clients outside of that, but besides the point, I focus there because after my first year in business, so I just mentioned, made 50K in 2 months. I went on to make great money that year. I was the fastest growing advisor in my firm's history that year. Like, awesome first year in business. I burned out my second year in
Mm-hmm.
February. I'm about a month and a half in. I remember going to my manager, my mentor. I'm like, I'm making great money. I'm 23 years old. I could go on vacation anywhere in the world I want. I have everything I want, and I'm just not happy. And I love what I
Mm-hmm.
do. I love sitting down with clients. I love being a financial planner, but I'm not happy, and this makes no sense to me. So I really did a lot of digging and looking at my practice, looking at my business, looking at what I was doing in my day to day. And I realized all of my clients were pretty much what you consider like pre-retirees, like 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. And I made great money working with them because they typically have more money. And in financial services, the more money a client has, typically the more you'll charge because of complexity and stuff like that. But I realized every time I had a meeting with a lot of these people, my energy's drained. I'm just like, I don't want to go to this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
get on Zoom. Like, I don't want to deal with this guy. The reason was they're just looking down to me. I'm having to prove myself, and because I'm young, even though I know I'm an expert and I'm great at what I do, it was an uphill battle. So I examined my business and I'm like, who do I really like working with? It was young people, man. Young people,
Mm-hmm.
salespeople, ambitious people like me. That was who I really am like. I have a meeting with them. Like, I'll front flip off my couch to go to that meeting. So I started targeting Gen Z. I had that coaching call with Justin Welsh probably 4 months later, 5 months later. I told him what I was thinking and what we're talking through now. He gave me the stamp of approval. He's like, I love it. You got to go in with that. He's like, I haven't seen any financial advisors targeting that niche. You got to go in with that. So I'm like, man, this guy's saying it. I know I got something here. I redesigned my whole model of my business. I go off a monthly subscription model for people to pay me because with younger people, they might have $2, 3, $4,000 a month just left over after their expenses, but they might only have 10 grand in the bank, 20 grand in the bank. So they're not necessarily someone that's going to have a huge investment account, but they could afford to pay me on a subscription model like they're used to paying everything else. And dude, me being Gen Z, I'm 24, I turn 25 in a couple weeks here. I pay everything on a monthly subscription model and I love doing it. So I'm like, why would I
Mm-hmm.
not design my business to do the same thing? And that's pretty much the culmination of how I ended up there with that niche and how I designed my business.
Mm. Dude, that's awesome. I think if Justin gives you the stamp, go for it. And I think that's good for you to just really take a step back and look at what you're doing. It's like you're making a ton of money, you're having a lot of success, but you're miserable, you're burnt out, you're not finding energy. And I think so often for really driven people, whatever you do, you're going to do well. But in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I think one thing I've heard you saying is like, let's look past tomorrow or the end of this year. Let's look 5 years ahead. And if you don't see yourself doing that or growing, then it's probably time to reconsider, and better now in your young 20s than later on in your career where you maybe are providing for a family, you can't take as many risks. Like, I just think it's cool that you looked at that and you already made this switch and you're not even 25 yet.
Brother, the number one reason for any success I've had to this point, when I feel something, I make a decision and I act on it. Whereas I think a lot of people want to go home and sit in their rocking chair and I need time to think about this. You don't need time to make decisions. You need information. So if you're having a tough time making a decision, you either don't have enough information or you're just nervous to take action. So you need to identify which one of those it is and either stay where you are or go take action. And that's what I'm really good at. I acknowledge that. And it's served me so well to this point in my life.
Dude, that's awesome. Take action. I think so often it really is easy to kind of sit back and talk to a bunch of people or tell people about your big plans, but not do anything. And I think that is one of the things to be mindful of you and me on LinkedIn. Like, Mando is like growing super fast on LinkedIn and everything. Prince of LinkedIn these days. That's what I'm calling you now. But I think it's really easy to feel like we're getting good work done because you post something and you get a bunch of likes or something, or you talk to a friend, you tell them about what you're doing, and all that's great to talk and do things, but like, make sure you're burying yourself in a room and like putting pen to paper at times and really like getting to action. And I'm preaching to myself right now because so often it's like, as someone that likes talking and getting excited, it's like, I'll get excited all day long, but am I actually doing anything?
Yeah, there's two sides to this. There's a positive and a negative. I mean, we're talking about the negative right now, so I'll go off this point. But when you tell someone about something you're going to do or thoughts you have in your mind, the way that our brains work is as if we already have that thing or did that thing. So that's why that's so like comforting and feels so good to do. But on the other side, and this is probably a segue to a total different point, for me, a lot of the success I've had is attributed to like vision and really defining what I want and what I'm going to sacrifice to get there. When I that first year I mentioned I made $360 in 3 months. What changed from month 3 to 4 was a book I read called Think and Grow Rich, and it's cliche
Mm.
because that book is so quotable, referenced from people. Um, Dude, I might even have it on me. No, I don't. Oh, I do have it on me actually. No, not the book, but I'm going to show you something. Man, I read that book and it talks about how to get what you want and the principle of um, the 6 step to riches and auto suggestion and stuff like that. And one of the things was saying like you need to be able to so clearly articulate what you want, what you're going to give up for it, and how clearly you're going to be able to get it, that it will come into your life if you focus on this over and over every day, every day, every day. Put pen to paper. So you could see here like this dingy little sticky note, right?
Hmm.
Basically, I wrote on here, I'll make X amount of dollars by doing these 5 actions every week. In return for this, I'll give my clients the best possible financial solutions to improve their lives. It is so clear to me how I'll do this. I could see it ready to be transferred to me. I wrote this when I had $300 of income in 3 months.
Wow.
There was no reason I should even think I was going to make $3,000 that year. And the next month I made 25 grand and I'm like, this works. Wow.
Wow.
So then I kept doing it, kept doing it over and over. Like I have countless things in my life. Like I got engaged in Rome, Italy. That was something that I've done through this principle. I got my CFP a couple weeks ago. That was something through this principle that people told me at my point of when I did it and how I prepared that I wasn't going to get it. Me and my fiance are about to close on a multi-unit house. That was something that I've at nauseum talked about and written about and focused on. And man, there's just countless examples, and the most successful people I know talk about this, and I always viewed it as like mumbo jumbo, so to speak, where you have coaches, and when you're growing up and playing sports, you're like visualize yourself making big plays, and like I never did that, but it took me to get to rock bottom to get this sticky note, do that, and realize this stuff is real, man. So
Man, that sticky note right there, that's powerful. Um, Good for you. I'm fired up for you. So many big things ahead. I see you impacting so many other people too and helping them along the way. And I guess another question I have for you is just about money in general. It's interesting because, we see people who have all the money in the world and more, like they couldn't run out of money if they tried. I mean, maybe we don't know those people, maybe some, but like, people say like money doesn't make you happy. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to be strapped and like hating your job and all of that. So I'm wondering like how you view money and how do you maybe not think about it all the time and like idolize it, if you will. I'm just wondering kind of what your mindset is there.
yeah,
Cause I
so
know it's
money,
important.
right? Absolutely. My opinion there is simple. Money's a tool. It gets us things we want in life, whether it's materialistic or experiences with people that we care about. Money also buys us time. So I talked about money and time in the relationship there before. I think the more money you have, the more you can spend time doing the things you care about. So it isn't about like idolizing money or loving that. In my view, treat others the right way, treat people how you would want to be treated in business and in your personal life. Money will come your way. Like I always say, like more people, the more friends you have, the more your business will grow, the more opportunities that'll come to you just out of pure fact of like, hey, like Hampton's a good guy. I like that dude. Like, let me talk to him about this. Like those things happen naturally, and I have
Hmm.
a million examples of it happening to me. But with money, I think you got to have a foundation to protect against risks, whether it's your emergency fund, your insurances that everybody knows, stuff like that, because then you could afford to take risks in your life that's going to grow wealth, build wealth for you. And with that wealth, that's how you're going to be able to go do the things you want to do. Now,
Hmm.
what that number is different for everybody. It depends. Like, I don't know, do you want to travel the world and go to a new country every month? That obviously is more expensive than chilling at your house, going to your kids' baseball games, and having a drink outside at night. Like, it's just
Yeah.
all, it goes back to goals and defining like what's your vision for your life and what do you want. But I think at its core, money is just a tool to get those things.
Mm. I think that's a great answer right there. I wouldn't add anything to that. So good answer right there. I want to hear. I want to hear a little bit of your story. You
Yeah.
were a college athlete, right?
Yeah, man. So I go to college, Division II school. I'm playing football, and football is great. I was on a red shirt that year, but football was great. School wasn't so great. Failed a couple classes. I was at a state school, a lot of partying, really accessible. And my dad wanted to beat me because I was doing so bad in school. So I transferred home to a smaller school, King's College, in Pennsylvania, and play football there, doing way better in school, going through. I'm in my junior year, and my original plan was I was going to go to Europe or even like the CFL potentially. I wasn't NFL material. I'm 5'10". I was 220. I'm a linebacker. I'm not going to the NFL. So I'm like, okay, well, I could play in one of these leagues in Europe maybe, or even CFL. And that last year I tore my shoulder. I remember there was a play. I went and tackled somebody, passed it on the field. I thought I was paralyzed, man. Honestly, I blacked
Mm.
out. I woke up a couple seconds later. I think it was a couple seconds. It might have been minutes, but just excruciating pain. And I knew that things were going to be different then. Eventually, I had to get surgery a few weeks later. And my last season gets canceled because of COVID. So I'm like, do I want to go back? Do I want to go start this career as a financial planner? Ultimately, push came to shove. I'm like, everybody's got to hang up their cleats at some point. I'm going to move on and go into my career. And from there, those first 3 months were tough because I'm like, what did I just give up? Like, I had so much opportunity and I was the man and I was doing so good. And like, now I'm just this loser doing nothing. And we know how it turned out. Luckily, there's a happy continuation there. I'm not going to say ending because we're still going and we're still building, but
We're still getting started.
we're just getting started. But it's turned out really well, man.
That's awesome. There's so often some like heartbreaking sports injuries, career-ending injuries, if you will. But I think this is kind of a cheesy saying, but like, are you a victor or a victim? You could have just been like, man, like this stinks. Why'd this happen to me? And then who knows what you'd be doing right now? Or you can have a growth mindset, take ownership of your life, and get after it. And maybe it meant $360 for 3 months, but now it's like, look what you're doing, man. So I think there's a lot to learn from you there. So good for you.
Yeah, and that was always my goal with football. Like, since I was a little kid, I can remember I wanted to be a professional football player. I wanted to go to the NFL or now you got the XFL. That's given opportunities to a lot of guys, and I think whatever your religion is, but for me, it's like I think it was God's way of showing me like this isn't what you were meant to do. You have a bigger purpose than just playing football, and I'm seeing that just with the lives I've impacted the past couple of years. So it's been cool, bro.
Amen, man. Yeah. A lot of times God does allow hard things to happen in our life. And if we can view ourselves as really a small part in a larger story, it's a little bit easier to understand some of those things. And now you can look back and say, man, I still don't like the pain that caused my shoulder, but I think I get it now.
Right.
um, cool. Well, real quick, I want to hear about just some of your experience on LinkedIn. This guy's blowing up on LinkedIn hilariously. Apparently, you're the man on Facebook too. I know you don't spend a lot of time there anymore. I don't hear a lot of people like blowing up on Facebook, but maybe tell us a little bit about like your LinkedIn experience, and then also encourage if I'm 20, 25, however old years old, why on earth should I be active on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so my LinkedIn journey's been a little bit funny. Same as everyone else, I always thought it was a job board, and I started my career almost 3 years ago, and they're like, it's a numbers game. Reach out to as many people as possible. Go on LinkedIn, message everybody. So I'm like, I was that guy, the pitch slap that you got in your DMs today from somebody. That was me like 2.5 years ago. So I get it when I get those messages. But moving on, I'm on LinkedIn, pitch slapping, no success, whatever, putting content out, very little success, company library, all that stuff. I did automation softwares. I used programs that they were going to do my stuff for me. Probably wasted $10,000 plus on like stuff like that, just stupid. But taught me a lesson of like, there's no shortcuts. You got to learn how to do it. And it led me to the whole Justin Welsh thing and doing the call with him and figuring out with LinkedIn. The thing is like, put out who you are. Personal stuff. People say this isn't Facebook. This is Facebook. Okay. I'm just going to say it today. So put out the personal stuff. Talk about your vacation. Talk about the people in your life that are important to you. People want to see that. LinkedIn is a social platform. It isn't just a job board. It isn't just go pitch me your service. Show me who you are. Tie in your business. Talk about that. Talk about how you could help me with your business. And it's funny when people know what you do and it's very obvious, when they need that thing, they'll probably come to you if they know that. And that's exactly what's happened for me. I've signed 15 clients this year, and I think 14 of them are from LinkedIn. And I've had dozens, probably 50 or 60 meetings with other people that inquired about my business. Now, a lot of them, it wasn't great timing or they didn't end up being a fit, but it's done so much for my business and put me in a place where I have a predictable place to find clients who I know I can help and get in front of them in a consistent way. And whether they become a client or not, add value to them and help them out in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I love everything you said. This is Facebook. I just think people want to know about the personal side of you, and you've done that really, really well. Like, there's so many people from LinkedIn that if you sent them a wedding invitation, they would be at your wedding. I'm crashing your wedding, whether you invite me or not. But well, hey, whenever that is, though, right? You're still planning it out, aren't you?
Yeah, we're still planning, man. We're a little bit behind because we got engaged in November. It was the holidays, so we're like, oh, after the holidays, we'll have an engagement party. We'll plan it then. We have the engagement party. Then that next week, my realtor, who's actually going to be the best man at my wedding, he's like, dude, I got this property. You got to see this. Mattia, my fiance, loved it, and I'm like, I loved it too. And now we're going to be closing on that in the next week, actually. So a lot going on. Hopefully, after we close on the house, we'll get more serious with the wedding planning, though.
There you go, man. Well, I'm excited. And you told me you're Italian, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say you have like 150 cousins or like a ton of family? Like it's gonna be one big happy wedding.
Oh, so much, man. Like we've got it down to about 90 on my family, and that was really tough, but we're slowly shortening the list.
Your wedding sounds like a movie. I'm excited for y'all. And I think one more question to ask, like on the LinkedIn side of things. You clearly seem to not be afraid to, obviously you're not afraid to put yourself out there and talk about your life and everything like that. And I think we all know if we live in fear of what people might think, you're not going to get very far. But I think our minds would be blown. And I can say this from experience of like, but Mando, I get it. You post on LinkedIn, but I don't know what to post, or what if my friends make fun of me, or what if I look stupid? Like, what do you say to that person?
What I say to that person is there's an analogy of crabs in a bucket, right? So I'll tie this back. This will make sense in a minute here.
Where are we going? Yeah.
You put crabs in a bucket. One of them tries to get out of the bucket. The other crabs pull it back. It's just what naturally happens with how they think. With us, with humans, there's a similar reaction to people when they're putting themselves out there. They're trying to do things. They're trying to do bigger things. And the reason is you have all these people. I come from a really small town, and I have all these people that I know. I love a lot of them. They're great friends or even acquaintances. And when you start to do something outside of the norm that people in your circle or area typically have done, you're pulling away from them. You're that crab that's getting out of the bucket, and they're trying to pull you back in because your actions and your efforts make them uncomfortable because they're too insecure to do it themselves. And they have a dream that they're too scared to go after. because they don't want to feel failure. They're worried, what if I don't do that? So when you do those things, and I know we're talking about posting on LinkedIn, but posting on LinkedIn, putting yourself out there, there's so much opportunity. And I know what it's done for me that I think there's parallels there of like, don't worry about people making fun of you because they're only projecting their own insecurities on you. And when you think about it that way, it really is sad in a way. But for that reason, you need to realize like that's someone that you could spin that around to have compassion and actually help them to say like, what are you trying to do, man? Like, let me help you. Like, what could I do for you?
Dude, that's really good. I love even how you ended up saying spin it around and then help other people. It's not because there's the mindset of, well, look at me, I made it. Like, screw you guys. Like, don't do that. Like, spin it around and say, hey, at one point in my life, I thought the same thing too. I get it. It feels weird putting yourself out there, but like, you can do it. And it makes me think, I've talked about this a lot. The crab in a bucket example, I got to start using that. I've heard it said of like when we expand our box, we get praise and persecution. Praise is from, Mattia, your family, other people, some of your best friends. But then there's also the kind of the persecution of, let me pull you back because I want you to stay in my box because as you grow, it makes me uncomfortable and I have dreams, but I'm not willing to chase them. And again, I can say that because I've done that so many times to people. But the way I've heard it said is, I'm curious to see what you think. The praise, obviously, we like that because it makes us feel good. Too much of it might give us an ego. Too much persecution might absolutely crush us. I think a healthy amount of both actually might be healthy because enough persecution and enough people trying to pull you back, I feel like it makes you decide if you want it bad enough. Does this little persecution, am I going to quit or like, do I actually really care about this? Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. So this is funny because one of the things I've worked on with my life coach, Alia, and we've dove really deep on, I'm such a recognition driven person. Like I'm the guy that wants the pat on the back. I want the trophy. I want the award. I want you to tell me that I'm great at something. Like I know I'm driven by that. Like some people are driven by money or other things. Like that is what drives me. And on that same hand, it's like soon as that negativity or the persecution for the context of our conversation, when that comes, it just crushes me and I struggle with it a ton. And it's like, oh, you didn't do that thing that you said you were going to do. You didn't reach that goal. Like, look at this guy that you suck. Like here's why you're awful. And I'm dumbing it down, but that was something I struggled with a lot. And one of the things me and Alia talked about was the concept of success versus excellence. And success is I have that goal or that benchmark or this thing my company sets that I have to hit. And if I hit that, I'm successful. If I don't hit it, I'm not successful. Excellence, on the other hand, is how do you treat people every day? How do you act every day? What are you doing in your day to day? What's your level of execution? And that's what excellence is. And when I shifted my focus before of being recognition driven, but recognition driven on success to recognition driven off of excellence, my anxiety, my stress, everything went away. It just became so much more fulfilling to do what I do in a day-to-day basis, man.
You're dropping bombs, man. I mean, first we got crabs, now we got excellent over success. This is great. I mean, I love it. It's I hear an alarm, and that must mean we're done.
That's a phone. We're good, man. That's a phone.
No, we're good, guys. I'm not editing this out because we're authentic here, but I mean, I think that's a great way to think about it. Just pursue excellence, okay, and the rest will take care of itself. I think that's a great way to put it. And guys, why do I bring Mando on here? A lot of us are younger, in our 20s. This podcast is called Wake Up and Lead, and leadership right now for a lot of us means learning to lead ourselves so that one day we can lead lots of other people. Because if you can't lead yourself, you're not gonna be able to lead other people well. And so I think a huge way to learn to lead yourself is how do you steward your finances? And Mondo's the guy to learn from. Follow him on LinkedIn. Hey, look him up on Facebook too. Don't sleep on his Facebook. But speaking of leadership and this podcast and everything, I like my guests to tell everybody to wake up and lead at the end. Sometimes I think it's kind of cheesy, but can we do that?
Yeah, we could do it, bro.
Okay. So I'm gonna say it's time for you and me, and then you say to wake up and lead. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. It's time for you and me
to wake up and lead.
Let's go.